Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. What is behind the greenback comeback? Not only the NFP buildup analysis. http ntvforex.com news ID 7C559F9 3/2022 44:52 p.m. There is life after the Fed. The dollar has staged a comeback after the blow from the central bank's dovish shift. What is behind the move? Valeria Bednarek, Joseph Trevisani, and Yohai Elam analyze positioning, responses from other central banks, politics, and encouraging U.S. data leading toward the non-farm payrolls. Yohai Elam NBSP. The U.S. dollar has been staging a comeback after falling sharply in the wake of the Federal Reserve's decision. NBSP. Is it due to profit-taking? NBSP positioning ahead of Friday's jobs report. Joseph Trevisani NBSP. Partially, but also the realization that the new Fed policy is for the far future, at least in currency market terms. NBSP. The projection materials already had Fed funds at 0.1% until the end of 2022. NBSP. U.S. statistics are improving, manufacturing-ism. NBSP. And claims were good, the first absolutely and the second relatively. Valeria Bednarek NBSP. I was thinking that, given the Fed's shift in its monetary policy, giving more relevance to employment, somehow lifts the chances of having a bit more action with the NFP. NBSP. At this point, I doubt it's just profit-taking. Joseph Trevisani NBSP. ADP seems to have gotten lost, the correlation to NFP has broken down. Valeria Bednarek. Well, it showed double the jobs it added in the previous month. Maybe forecasts were too optimistic. Joseph Trevisani NBSP. The Fed has been talking up employment for all of Trump's presidency. This change makes it official. Yohai Elam. The U.S.'s manufacturing PMI was strong, but the employment component contracted again. Joseph Trevisani NBSP. True, but employment indicators are laggards. I look more at the new orders indexes and they are very strong. Yohai Elam. I think the ECB is fighting back. Philip Lance's comment was one of the triggers of the reversal. Joseph Trevisani NBSP. On inflation, the Fed has not paid inflation any policy attention since the financial crash. NBSP. Rate policy has been dictated by employment and recovery, not inflation. Valeria Bednarek. I do agree with that, Yohai, but we know that, after the first impact, policymakers' like or dislike of a certain pair level is hardly a market mover. Yohai Elam. Powell seemed to give up on inflation last year. Valeria Bednarek. The ECB somehow draw a line in the sand at 1.20, but if somehow the dollar resumes its decline, the central bank won't be enough to cap Bull's determination. Joseph Trevisani NBSP. If the US recovery goes into reverse, the euro goes higher, the ECB won't be able to stop it with comments. NBSP. Their concern is, as always, exports and a higher euro. NBSP. This is normal for them and has happened many times. Yohai Elam. I agree that the ECB cannot stop the euro from rising. NBSP. I cannot see the Germans agreeing to what Powell announced, not in this lifetime. NBSP. Solene's comment was the spark needed to trigger some profit-taking, but I don't see a follow-through from Lagarde next week. Joseph Trevisani NBSP. There has not been as much focus on the EU recovery as the US. NBSP. I agree. I don't see any follow from the ECB. Yohai Elam. August's non-farm payrolls is the first hard data report for the time after some of the government stimulus lapsed, and according to the economic calendar, it looks like another month of significant job restoration. 1.4 million. Valeria Bednarek. Good point there. Still, over 27 million Americans continue to receive some sort of insurance, according to official data. Yohai Elam. Yet, some 13 million have yet to return to work. NBSP. The stock market is rising like there's no tomorrow. Joseph Trevisani NBSP. True, NBSP. But the markets are trading on the improvement or lack thereof. Yohai Elam. As we speak, US indexes are down, but it's probably one of those buy the dip opportunities like in most of the past 11 years or so. NBSP. Is there a non-farm payrolls number that would cause stocks to fall? Joseph Trevisani NBSP. Good question. A negative number would shake the markets. Valeria Bednarek. Well, if the US adds 1.4 million jobs as expected, for sure the rally will continue. I would say that below 1 million, it could trigger some profit taking ahead of the weekend. However, not expecting a significant sell-off in equities. Yohai Elam, how would the dollar react? Currencies have been shrugging off NFP figures for many months. NBSP reactions have been mild. Joseph Trevisani, NBSP, I think the dollar would fall if we get a negative number. Valeria Bednarik, as I said, I hope for a bit more action, just a bit, after the Fed's shift in monetary policy. Yohai Elam, the Fed's reaction to the figures is more important than the figures. Valeria Bednarik, yups. Yohai Elam, I foresee a scenario A, probably not this time A, in which weak US figures trigger a sell-off in stocks. In turn, that pushes politicians to strike a deal, and that means less Fed action and therefore a stronger dollar. NBSP, but this bad news is good news scenario will likely wait for another event. Valeria Bednarik, yeah, seems too early for that normal scenario. Yohai Elam, what happens if NFP beats again? Let's say around 2 million. More dollar strength, a breath of fresh air for the ECB. Joseph Trevisani, NBSP, in normal times, the US grows faster than Europe. NBSP, I think the market is looking for that to happen again. NBSP, Germany is the export titan in Europe and the euro has been a huge benefit for her economy. NBSP, the German mark would be far higher than the euro against the dollar. Yohai Elam, cannot agree more. NBSP, the trade balance surplus dipped for a while, but now it's back to normal for Germany and the Eurozone as a whole. Valeria Bednarik, but we are not in normal times. EUR/USD run to 1.20 had not much of a reason behind it. It could happen the opposite now, moreover if US data provides support to the greenback. Joseph Trevisani, NBSP, yes, I agree, there was little economic logic to the run to January 2000, it got started when the US jobless claims numbers reversed in mid-July. The trigger was economic but the follow was NBSP, simply momentum. Yohai Elam, not everything in markets is rational. 2020 has seen strong moves in markets, often exaggerated, and the year is far from over. Valeria Bednarik, and so the irrational behavior. Joseph Trevisani, NBSP, the UAE-Israel deal may have helped cap oil. It popped over 43 briefly but is now back to 41. Yohai Elam, and the waning of hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico. Joseph Trevisani, NBSP, I certainly see the impact on gasoline prices around New York. Some are below $2 per gallon. ISM Services August employment 47.9, still in contraction but ahead of July's 42.1. NBSP, I wonder about the forecast of 31.9, not at all realistic. NBSP overall 56.9 from 58.1. NBSP, so a good but not great number. Valeria Bednarik, indeed. Improving, but still far from optimal. Anyway, a positive sign for the USD. Joseph Trevisani, NBSP, yes, no damage to the refinery industry. NBSP, hurricane season has 2 months to run yet. Yohai Elam, that employment component expectation seemed wildly pessimistic, I focused on that in my preview. All in all, the leading indicators toward the NFP seem to confirm another month of robust job restoration. I would say that 1.4 million makes sense. Maybe 1.5 million. Joseph Trevisani, NBSP, yes, it has been interesting for the past 6 months. NBSP, economists have had difficulty getting a handle on the swings of the economy. NBSP, understandable. I think Yohai Elam, the last pandemic was around a century ago. Some things have changed since then. Joseph Trevisani, NBSP, a century ago econometrics was an undiscovered country. Yohai Elam, the economists in 2120 will have more information to rely on. Joseph Trevisani, NBSP, analysis paralysis, old trading term. NBSP, by the time you find the analytical evidence for trade the moment has passed. NBSP, the signs are clear that the markets are returning to traditional comparisons. The dollar's recent fall was, you might say, reality-based. Initial claims did jump, though, in the longer run, it did not signal a retreat in the recovery, just a blip. NBSP, so far the markets have been agnostic to the election. Polls have tightened but to some degree that was inevitable. NBSP, the first debate is about a month away, that could have an impact depending on how it goes. Yohai Elam, the polls hardly moved in the past month. A bit of convention bounces for both parties, quite muted. NBSP, polarization depresses volatility in polls. NBSP, which is sad for politics junkies like myself. less excitement. Joseph Trevisani NBSP full swing in the campaign is next week. NBSP the ads are already warming up the electorate. NBSP it's going to be a brutal run to the first debate. Yo ha elam I hope, so far 538 is super stable at around 70% bidden. Real Clear Politics is showing around 7% for bidden, just like before the conventions. NBSP I want to see swings of more than 1.5%, NBSP so, NFP guesses NBSP I'll go for 1.5 million. Valeria Bednarik I feel optimistic today, will go for an upbeat reading, closer to 2 million. Joseph Trevisani NBSP I'm looking for a win this time, 1.75 million. Yoha Elam I went for above expectations and I'm still the pessimist, NBSP Val won last time. Valeria Bednarik so, we are all optimistic. A reading below 1.4 then, could be the market mover we long for. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors.